Welcome back to another episode of Followers by Design. We've had way too much caffeine today. We're talking about fasting. Roll the intro.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode. I'm glad that you're here. We're going to be talking today about fasting, and I really want to start it with scripture because that is where we should start. Fasting it's a topic that normally people don't discuss enough as we should, and sometimes it can be mistaken for something that's going to cleanse your body and that's going to be for health reasons. Many people fast for losing weight. Many people fast by different aspects, but let's bring it back to scripture and focus directly on scripture. So I want to start with reading Matthew 16 to 18.
Go for it.
It's going to clear a little bit, and it's going to segue right into my first point that I want to talk about. And it says, "And when you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you." The first thing that stood up to me on this passage, sometimes our ego kicks in and it's like, oh no, I'm fasting, so I can't eat. It's like, or like trying to look a little bit, like trying to look really hungry, so that people ask you like, hey, why are you not eating? It's like, no, I'm fasting. The Bible literally says, don't make it seem like you're dying. Enjoy the fast. Do it on your own terms with God, and don't worry about anybody else. Worry about why you're doing it. Worry about what you want to accomplish with it, rather than just trying to seem like you're really spiritual because you are fasting.
Definitely. And to know why you're fasting, we have to figure out what fasting is first.
Yes.
So fasting is simply taking something away from your life and replacing it with time with God in order to grow closer with Him. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why you can fast. But to start off with what fasting is, most people, when you think of fasting, you think of food, right? Oh, I'm not eating for the next X amount of days, or I'm not eating for today, or I'm not eating until sundown, whatever it is. The point of it is that not that you just don't eat and you pretend like you're not hungry and you pretend like you feel better about yourself. But when you fast, you have a bit more time because you're not worried about food. If you think about back in biblical times, how long it took to prepare food, especially food for lots of people, that took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And once you finally got to the dinner table and you're eating, you're not there for 10 minutes. You're there for a long time, conversating with people and obviously eating. So when you fast from food, you take away the food and you replace that with something that is going to grow you closer with God, right? A lot of times that's prayer. Sometimes it's really digging into the Word. Sometimes it's just silence and solitude. But a big mistake that people make right off the bat is taking away something and then just replacing it with something else that's no good, like social media.
Yeah.
Fasting from social media, but then you're just watching Netflix all the time.
Yeah, not only that, but other times people might mistake fasting just of like, oh, I have a physical, or I have some like a doctor gave me some test that I need to do, so I can't eat before the test. so that everything's good. And fasting is not just cleansing everything before your doctor's appointment. It's not meant for that. Fasting is supposed to be removing yourself out of stuff that normally takes time to intentionally focus your time on your relationship with God. Is meant to be time that could be watching TV or something that is not edifying myself, and is taking that time and using it to build upon my relationship with God.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be something bad. Like, obviously,
No.
eating isn't a bad thing. We highly suggest eating, it's really beneficial. But it's taking that away. And like you said, it's replacing that with reminding yourself of who God is and growing closer with Him.
Yeah. And also, I want to point out, if you're going to fast and you're removing food from your day to day, just like if you're fasting with food, please be careful about it, because that doesn't mean put your health at risk.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last thing that God wants is for you to put yourself at risk.
Yeah.
So there's an aspect of like being careful about fasting, because it can quickly become, rather than doing it for a good reason, it can become into a health issue,
Mm-hmm.
or it can become more of a stone in your way rather than being helpful.
Sure. Definitely. Yeah. Be careful, especially when you're not eating. We know what fasting is,
Yeah.
right? It's removing something and replacing it with intentional time with God,
Yes.
right? So now, why do we fast?
It's a huge aspect of trying to set a time apart to focus more on our relationship with God. And I kind of like see it. Jesus did this. He went to the desert 40 days to just clear everything out and have no distractions, have nothing that was impeding him to connect with God. Trying to remove every obstacle that we normally have on our day to day to be able to focus and go deeper with God.
A reason you might want to do that. There's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah.
You might have a big decision ahead, and you really, really want to make sure that you are listening to God as opposed to letting the busyness of life get in the way. It could be a fast for repentance. If you were living a way that you shouldn't, and you're saying, you know what, I really have to turn back to God, you can fast and fully focus on Him and kind of regain your life back, if that makes sense. Let's say you just want to pray for your congregation, for your city, for your family, whatever it is, and you really want to focus your prayer. You can say, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna fast for just a little bit, so I can really focus on God.
Yeah. Also, a huge part could be like focusing for your ministry.
Yeah.
If you're about to embark on something for your ministry, it could be discipling somebody, or it could be preparing for a youth event. It could be preparing for a youth conference. It could be preparing for a conference as a church. Just preparing yourself for that. It's like recharging your spiritual battery to be able to give more. That's
Yeah.
a great way to do it.
The list for fasting goes on and on and on. Maybe you just really want God's wisdom on something. Maybe you could fast for whatever reason. But the important reason, or the important thing to take away from fasting, is to remember why you're doing it. And if you're fasting from, like I said, social media, the time that you would usually spend on social media, you have to replace that with God. If you're fasting from eating, the time that you would normally spend eating, replace that time in prayer, in worship, in silence and solitude in His Word. No matter what you're fasting from, you have to replace that with God, or else you're just taking one thing and substituting it for another, and that does nothing. So let's get into the practical side of things. How
Yeah.
do we fast?
Through my experience, I've mainly fasted with food. That's been food and social media. I've had a few huge conferences in when I was in Guatemala, and the way we did it was the week prior to like the weekend that we went to like have those retreats. Um, we would fast from the time that we woke up till like 3 p.m. That would be food, and through the whole week we wouldn't see like social media, or we wouldn't use electronic devices. Just like have a week of focusing our efforts into praying and filling ourselves for the youth retreat to be able to provide that, essentially what we were like recharging ourselves with the spirit to be able to provide that to the people. I don't know what has been like an experience for you when it comes to fasting.
I had actually it was a day of prayer and fasting for for the with this organization, and it was 24 hours. It started at 3 p.m. and it went till 3 p.m. the next day. And that first day, I mean, it was just the afternoon and the evening, so you just didn't eat. But that second day, we all got to this church at like 8 or 9, and we sang worship songs together. We spent a little bit of time by ourselves. We spent a lot of time in group prayer. There were a few messages, and at the end of it, we all stood around and we just prayed for, I don't remember how long it was, up until that 3 o'clock mark, and then we all ate together, which is pretty cool. So that's been the biggest or the most notable form of fasting that I can remember in my life. And it was really cool because it's hard, honestly. Like it's hard not to think about food when you haven't eaten in a while. I mean, for me, if I don't eat in 5 hours, I'm starting to think about food,
Yeah.
right? So
And I feel like that's the point of it. Like sometimes it's making it hard because it's just us sacrificing something that we long for, something that we're um excited for. That's why like food is a huge aspect of fasting, is replacing something that we crave for God, and replacing it with God, so that it's intentional, and it it makes it even more intentional if it's something that you struggle to leave behind,
mm-hmm.
because then it really shows the dedication that you have for it. And something that you mentioned is that you were doing this with other people, and I wanted to touch bases on that as well, is that fasting doesn't have, even though the Bible goes and says don't be like flaunting, or like don't be like just all going all around like I'm fasting, don't show it to the world, do it on your own. But like it doesn't mean that fasting has to be just
Mm-hmm.
something that you do on your own. It could be something that you're doing with a group of people. It could be something that you're doing church wide. Uh
Mm-hmm.
or it might be something that you're doing, sorry. It might be something that you're doing with youth ministry, or the married couples at church.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you could do with a group of people, and
Yeah.
sometimes that's even like more special, because it allows you to not only bond with God but bond with this group. And having a group of people to do it with brings the aspect of like praying together for one reason, and coming together in Christ as one and doing it for one reason.
Mhm.
And that's just powerful.
It is, yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's super, super difficult. It all goes back to, again, why you're doing it. So it shouldn't, I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be going out in the desert for 40
Yeah.
days. Like, it doesn't have to be,
No.
like, you have nothing to prove to God, right? Like,
no.
there is nothing that you're going to do where God's going to be like, whoa, look at this guy, right? It's just you humbling yourself and saying, you know what? I don't need this stuff right now. I need God.
Yeah.
So, and again, yeah, it is really cool to do it with other people because, one, I mean, iron sharpens iron. So it's a lot, I don't want to say easier, but it's kind of easier to do it with other people because you've got other people that are reminding each other, oh, this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it is just kind of cool. And also going back to that verse, that also doesn't mean that you can't tell people that you're fasting, because that's been something I've heard as well. You can tell people you're fasting. That's fine. It's just the heart behind it, right?
Yes.
Like if people are saying, "Oh, let's go out to eat," and you say, "Oh, I can't because I'm fasting," that's fine. But it's the way you do it. If you're like, "Oh, I really wish I could. It sounds so delicious, but I can't because I'm fasting," right? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, it's mainly if you're trying to boast yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to make yourself look better because you're doing it, that's where we start to fall into a loophole of like just doing to be popular, and that's when it starts becoming the wrong way of
Mhm.
doing it.
Yeah.
It's okay to say no, I'm fasting, but you're really doing it just to, like, say it, not just to like flaunt yourself. It's just you're casually mentioning it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the practical how to fast. If you're fasting from food, just don't eat. No, I'm just kidding. If you're fasting from food, set a time.
Yeah.
What are you fasting from? Maybe you're fasting from fast food. Whoa, that's crazy. That's kind of funny. Maybe you're fasting from all food. Maybe you're fasting from sugar. It doesn't make sense to fast from fruits and vegetables and then only eat fast food. So there's that sort of common sense
It's not
that you
like,
gotta have.
Mom, I'm fasting from vegetables.
Yeah.
Don't give me vegetables. No.
I can only have McDonald's. I'm sorry. Right. It has to make sense.
Yes.
There
is a fast in the Bible. Is Daniel's fast.
Yeah.
And he went from just eating grains from like beans, vegetables, like refraining from any like protein, like meat, bread.
Yeah, any meat, protein.
Stuff like that. I might be butchering what it is specifically because I don't remember what it is specifically, but there's a specific certain food that you eat for 40 days. The idea behind it was that with
Nebuchadnezzar.
That one.
Yeah. He was the big cucumber in VeggieTales.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Great episode. You should watch it.
I know how to say it in Spanish.
How do you say it in Spanish?
Nabucodonosor.
What?
Yeah.
Yo, say that again.
Nabucodonosor.
Yo. That's going to be our new intro music. Just that auto-tuned.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that Daniel was trying to explain that he only needed that food and God and after the 40 days he was going to be stronger than the king's troops with just eating what the king was providing, because he was trying to explain that God is his provider, that the only thing that we need is God's provision, and then that's what's going to make us stronger. And that's why that's a type of fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just refraining from eating those kind of foods, but it's also taking the time to like pray and go deeper in the word and go deeper into your relationship with God, that is a way to fast. That's a way of fasting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, with food, it's just what food are you eating or are you not eating, and for how long.
Yeah.
And then during those meal times that you usually have, spend time in prayer, spend time in service, something that brings you closer to God. If you're refraining from social media, when do you usually go on social media? Take that time and pray.
And also, I
Dig
want to
into the
say,
word.
start with baby steps.
Yeah, yeah.
Start with baby steps.
Do
That's a
not do a
huge
40-day
thing.
fast of food on your first day.
Yeah, like also, if you're fasting from food, maybe set half a day. You don't have to do like 20,
Mm-hmm.
like like a week of not eating completely, because
Yeah.
then that is going into not into the health risks.
And you are not less of a Christian or less in any way if you can't do a certain amount of time without eating.
Yes.
Right. It's again it's because it's your heart
Yeah,
that matters.
the focus is not to see who can eat the least or who can last the longest without eating.
I'd lose.
You tell me, but the reasoning behind it is to just go deeper with God.
Mm-hmm.
If it means just from when you wake up to like noon that you don't eat, and you're focusing that into going deeper with God, then that is your way to fast.
Yeah.
If it means just leaving just one day of no social media to focus one day of prayer, that is you fasting.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be for huge amounts of time, as long as you're doing it for the right reason. Start somewhere. Start small.
Yeah, definitely. And as we always say, keep accountability.
Yes.
This life, the Christian walk is not meant to be done alone, right? Everybody needs accountability. There's nobody that's gotten to that level where they're good, they don't need accountability. Everybody needs accountability. So talk to a friend, talk to whomever you can trust to keep you accountable and set it up. Maybe you two do it together. How cool would that be?
And that's why fasting is, I feel like it sometimes it's better doing it with people, because it's just that accountability behind it. And also, like I keep mentioning this to multiple people, is like we were created as relational beings.
Mm-hmm.
We were meant to be with people. We were meant to be in a relationship with somebody, either God or friendships. We're not meant to be alone. That's why when people are alone, depression starts kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of like health issues, mental health issues that start kicking in when people start being lonely,
Mm-hmm.
because we were not created for that purpose. We were created as relational beings. That's why when we do when we grow together with our community, our church community, that's why our friendship has grown so much
Mm-hmm.
more, and we've been able to push each other in our relationship with God, because we've been doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we're meant to. So fasting can also be that way. Having a group that you do it with, having your closest friends that you do it with, to push each other to grow deeper with God, is a great way of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not the only way, but it's kind of the best way, right?
It's a great way to start.
You don't yeah. Even if you're fasting alone, having someone to keep you accountable.
Yeah.
Because then you have somebody that can help you uh or at the end of your fast, you can say, "Hey, look at what I learned. This is what I learned about myself. This is what I learned about God."
Having that accountability with friends is just crucial, if you're doing it with them or if you're having them be like keep you accountable for you doing it on your own time. It's just really important. It just it will help you grow so much faster than if you try to do it alone.
Yeah. Because you can't do it alone.
No.
No, you weren't meant to.
No. You're going to hit a wall,
Mm-hmm.
figuratively speaking. And I feel like people get frustrated, and that's why people stop like doing it, or like people stop fasting, or people stop going deeper with God because they're doing it alone, and then they get frustrated because they can't.
Mm-hmm.
And accountability's a huge, huge aspect in our relationship with God.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess just kind of to wrap up,
Yeah.
start small.
Yes.
Remember why you're doing it. And keep up accountability. That's it. This is something, it is a spiritual discipline, but it's something that should bring you closer to God, and it will be difficult, especially if it's something you really, really like food. I really like food, at least.
Or even social media. It's hard to go away from social media, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's those things that we cling on to the most
Yeah.
that we should be fasting from anyway,
Yeah.
right? Like whatever it is, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I can fast from that, try it and see how much better your life is when you can replace something that is taking away from God and replacing that with God.
Also, I encourage you to go to your group of friends, to your close group of friends, and tell them, let's start a fast. Let's fast for this amount of time. Let's start. I encourage you to go do it with your friends. And you'll see how not only your relationship, your friendship is going to grow exponentially, but also your relationship with God is going to grow exponentially. Well, thank you guys for joining to another episode. Get your friends to start fasting with you. That's what we want you to take out of this.
And do it fast. I'm just kidding. Take your time.
And
I've been waiting all episode for that. Sorry.
me too. I've been trying to it's been the whole episode what I wanted to do, like fast jokes.
You got to take it slow. Ayo.
Ayo.
Okay. Yeah. Go do that. may the Lord
And
bless
this
you.
is where we're on the left corner.
Ooh, we're on the left corner. Oh, man.
Top left corner.
You know what? Listen, we could do a fun fact. But we could also figure out, you know what? We can fast together.
Yes.
We have a...
Fast from a fun fact.
Fast from what?
A fun fact.
Oh.
Sorry.
This is a 2-minute fast that we're about to do.
Yes.
No. Yeah, we can fast. We can do a social media fast.
Yes.
Whoa. Yeah.
It's funny because we're posting on social media.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was
That's gonna
thinking
be a little bit
as we're
harder.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, can you do a scheduled post?
No.
Oh, you can't?
No. What we could do is we can fast social media from like 9 a.m. to like 5 p.m.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Or I have a better idea. Whatever time we usually post, just say we are fasting from 9:05 a.m. till 9 o'clock a.m. And we have a 5-minute window every day.
Could be.
And that's just enough time to post something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or, I mean, we can just fast from going on social media, like scrolling through social media. Because, I mean, you're the one in charge of social media. So it's a lot easier for me to say. Because I post to YouTube. So I can just schedule the post and then we're good.
Yeah, for me it's a little bit harder.
Oh, that's our fun fact for the day. Did you know that you can schedule a post on YouTube but not social media? I didn't know that. I don't even know if it's true because I've never tried to schedule a post on social media.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do this week a social media fast. Although that does include YouTube.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Oh, but I can schedule an update. So Why don't we do this? 9 a.m.
Starting Monday.
Monday. Because we'll post things on Monday.
Let's say this. Let's have that exception of just posting
Okay.
as an exception,
Okay.
but also let's fast from social media.
Fast from social media. How long you want to do it? Like Monday to Friday?
Yeah, we can do Monday to
'Cause
Friday.
Saturday we're gonna be
Yeah, let's do Monday
going
to
into it.
Friday.
Monday to Friday,
Yep.
social media fast.
Yeah.
So get all your social media in tomorrow. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
Be on social media for 16 hours so you
For
can get
24
through.
hours. 24 hours.
Exactly. Oh, that's awful.
So that's going to
awful.
leave us a great time to train.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. Cuz remember, we got to take that time that we would be on social media. And yeah. So yeah, I tell you what, yeah, I can, instead of scrolling on YouTube, I can go for a run and just
Yeah.
do like a prayer run. That's a thing, right? It's prayer walks,
We
You can
could
just pick up the
do
pace.
worship runs.
worship runs. That's, I mean, like trying to sing. I mean, I guess you could just like
Do small pace.
meditate
Yeah,
on the
worship. Yeah.
on the worship as
But
you
well,
run.
we keep dragging this. So
Listen. I'm fine. We can have a we can have a 3-hour episode, and it's just like 25 minutes of us talking about fasting, and then 2.5 hours of us
talking
talking about fasting, trying to figure out how we're gonna fast.
Yes. But we're talking really slow.
Yes, there it is again. Man, we had so many opportunities.
Yes.
So many opportunities, but we're
Well-
too hyped up on caffeine.
Yes.
To be able to think straight.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for joining another episode.
If you stayed this long, maybe you should have a fast from
You're a
social
real
media.
one. No. Keep watching our keep watching our podcast.
Fast from all social media
Except
except,
our
for our
podcast.
podcast.
But you're
Is
a real
that-
one.
Is that heresy? I feel like that's got to be a heresy.
No,
That's
because
a heresy of
you're
some sort. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify.
yeah, because
that
you're
doesn't count as social
building
media.
yourself. Because we're discipling people through our message.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a way of like going deeper with God.
Sure. Yep.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next Monday.
Next Monday, because we do it every Monday.
Yep.
Toodles.
Toodles.